Welcome to another episode of Distory. My name is Kirk with Walrus Carp, and today we are going to take an illustrious tour through Hollywood where you become a star as we go back to 2001 and celebrate the wonderful world that was Superstar Limo. With me as always is the amazingly well-researched European version of Kate's The Disney Cicero. Hey, welcome back to the States. How are we doing this evening?
Thank you. I'm doing good. A European version, I'll take it. Like, that's great.
You're fancy, dude. You're fancy pants.
Yeah. I am wearing my Disneyland Paris ears because they look very Hollywood. I was like, let's pick something that's very flashy.
I went with what I think I would feel like if I was in the queue for this ride.
That's awesome. So I'm very excited that this was your choice to do this one. And I'm so excited when you chose it because the last one we did a little while back when we talked about the Michael Eisner era and we talked about Disney Cruise Line, which was a little bit of a like pro Michael Eisner. And now this one is like one of Michael Eisner's greatest failures. So I'm very excited to talk about
what in I thought we had like an agreement that this wasn't just going to be like a bashing, you know? I mean, it's unfair.
It's not. I will not make it an entire bashing. But I just want to say.
Hang on. Something came up on my screen. It's Time Magazine. Why is the mouth smiling? Because Michael Eisner's magic transformed Disney into a $3 billion kingdom. Gosh, that's crazy. Sorry. I don't know how that got up there. You were bashing. Wait, what were you saying about him?
Well, I'm
so the cover of Time Magazine.
I just cannot wait to get to the point where we talk about where the ride, like the guest satisfaction scores were more positive if the ride was closed than when it was open. Just really excited for that. Anyway, so as we always do, shall we start at the very beginning? Not the beginning. Like, we've already talked about California Adventure. I don't want to get into the big, giant history of California Adventure Park. But to give it just a little bit of context of where we're going, California Adventure opened in 2001, which is when this ride opened as well with the opening of the park. Before that, what Kirk is showing you is actually a Westcott idea that they had scrapped because they didn't have enough money. Basically what happened was they were expecting Disneyland Paris to be, or Euro Disney at the time, to be a huge success. And it, in fact, was not the success that they had hoped for. So they just didn't have the budget that they had planned for Westcott. So I have this wonderful article from the New York Times that shows when you wish upon a deficit.
When you wish upon a deficit, ignore cultural norms and important things. Ignore the country that you're in. And Kate will still go and visit your park just recently. So, hey, listen, I know you keep hating on him, but you did get to visit a place that he built.
Oh, well, he built it, but it got, anyway, that's another argument for another time. We're just going to move on.
Sorry, I couldn't hear you.
Anyway, so they redesigned the project to open what would become Disney's California Adventure instead. Basically, they went on a retreat with the bigwigs at Disney and said, like, hey, we got to, like, figure out what to do now because we can't do this big park. We got to slash it by a couple billion. So instead, they came up with this $1.4 billion plan, which was roughly half the price of Westcott. And it felt it when it opened. It was very kind of cheaply made. We've talked about that being off the shelf.
Time out. I know you love Venom. Well, let's take some anti-Venom here for a second. It actually logically makes sense, right? So if you look at things, and this, I'll pay you a compliment. Eisner likes to steal ideas. So does a lot of other companies. They steal ideas. The big part with, for example, doing MGM Studios was because Universal was building in Orlando a studio there, plus the real estate costs in California were high. That was a good idea, and it ended up working out well down the line. Here, the biggest problem with Disneyland is that Disneyland was a one-day park. So you did have a hotel, but you really wanted to have people stay there and do multiple days and not just day trips. So most people who were tourists coming into the LA Anaheim area would leave and go and explore the other areas of California. So the thought process was, why don't we take some of those great tourist attractions that they could go and visit one day and bring them closer with a secondary park? Now, is that the greatest idea, to build a California park in California? No, we know that. And this park has still been troubled. It has some really great things now, but it took a good solid 22 years to finally get to where I think the park is decent. I don't think DCA is great. I still think it's decent. But yes.
It's pretty good. Like, I'll spend more time over there than I would have back in the day. Like, you know, it's like, and it has, it has nighttime, like, people will stay there through the nighttime because of World of Color.
Well, the show was fantastic. They didn't have that before. I also think that they did a really nice job with making it kind of like Epcot Food Festival-ish in DCA. So, and DCA became kind of like the adult park, much like Epcot has that adult vibe, especially after like late night hours, which is, by the way, really interesting to me. Doing research on Disneyland, how late those parks are open till. Like, Disneyland's open till midnight or later most nights, and I'm like, oh god, dude, it's like I
it throws everybody off when it closes at 11. Everybody's like, watch out, the park's closing at 11. It's closing early, you know. Because
for me, I'm like, oh, we close at 9, bro.
I get a lot more sleep at Disney World than Disneyland when I go. If I stay till close all the time, and I'm wrecked at Disneyland because I'm exhausted, but. Anyway, Disney's California Adventure was not supposed to be like a nostalgic park like Disneyland. So Disneyland was like, let's remember what it was like in like the early 1900s. Let's like go back in time to the Old West. It was very like a nostalgic park. But California Adventure was meant to be a contemporary park. So it was meant to be like right now. And I love Imagineer Neil Engel said, keep it hip for the kids. Like, we had to like keep it very like updated all the time. That was kind of the goal, which I think is where it kind of lands us into the idea for Superstar Limo was really trying to appeal to that. We could talk about the history of California Adventure as a whole all day long, but we really want to dig into this particular attraction, which I have the words to describe it. It said, get ready to be taken for a ride through a wacky, whimsical version of Hollywood where you're Tinseltown's biggest new star.
Don't you feel like we get that, though? Like, we totally get that.
Yeah.
He landed on the quote. It's wacky.
Yes. Yes.
Don't you wish you got to go and ride this once, though?
Yeah, just to say I did. I don't think I did. I don't remember this specifically. I did go there shortly after it opened, but I don't remember riding this attraction because it wasn't open very long. So,
right. So a little bit of backstory on this attraction. Well, you know what? I guess we can talk about concept before this, because originally this attraction, why don't we do that? So before I go into what the attraction actually became, so the concept was, and this kind of came from Eisner, the fact that he wanted to turn you into your own star, right? But they wanted to make something that was high speed, fun, and exciting. And actually, I'm going to describe something to you right now, and you're going to go, wait, that exists. Board a limousine and go super, super fast on the downtown highway to get to a theater on time. Does that sound like any attractions we currently have? It's actually kind of interesting because the development of Rock and Roller Coaster and Superstar Limo were happening at the exact same time. So even like the cutouts and design that we'll see in Superstar Limo as we look at images, a lot of that gets repurposed into Rock and Roller Coaster, which I thought was kind of cool. But there was supposed to be, you are in a limo, paparazzi are chasing you, you are speeding through to get on time to like an award ceremony, basically. So that was the original concept.
Yeah. So in the original plans, this is in an area that was called Hollywood Pictures Backlot. So this was the main attraction for this area. And they were supposed to have a miniature version of the LA airport theme building. If you're familiar with that at all, it had a restaurant inside called Encounters that the Imagineers actually designed, and this is what it looked like. It
was crazy. They were designing this as they were designing DCA, which I thought was interesting. You know, that's such an iconic. I had no idea until I started researching this that they had designed LAX.
Yeah, well, so the plan was to have just a little miniature version of this that you would see when you went by on the monorail, and that you would it would be the scene setting for this attraction. Was the idea that you were arriving by air through LAX, and then you're like going to go see Hollywood. So, and then you're a big star. So it was interesting because they described it as a combination of like a kid's roller coaster and like a really wild Mr. Toad's Wild Ride. That was like what it's supposed to be.
So like if I think about it honestly as if you took out the inversions and that speed launch from Rock and Roller Coaster, it has that campy black light plywood, very similar to what you get in Mr. Toad's Wild Ride. There was supposed to be some like really crude jokes too. In one part, there was you were gonna pass all these different icons, and one of them was a hot dog stand, and you would see what would look like an Elvis character being very flatulent. But then when you go on the opposite side of it, it was just Elvis putting mustard on a hot dog. So it was like it had some campy puns / like crude humor in it.
Yeah. It's I have kind of like a run through of what it would have been like.
Yeah, go for it.
So I have you, the guest or the big time celebrity, Hollywood's latest sensation. You're in danger of being late for your very own film premiere. So as you board your limousine, CEO Michael Eisner, so he's actually was kind of like featured in this ride, would appear on the ride vehicle's video screen and remind you that you still hadn't signed the contract for your next picture, a big film that you're supposed to be making for Walt Disney Studios. So you're like, oh no, I haven't signed my contract, right? Michael would then tell you that he'd be waiting for you at the end of the ride at the red carpet for Grauman's Chinese Theater. And your fortune would be made if you just got to get to the theater safely and sign your contract. But Eisner would warn you that the paparazzi was out there in full force, and he said, don't do anything that would ruin your reputation. So your goal was to like get to the theater without ruining your reputation. I don't know how you do that on like a limo ride, but
in my personal opinion, it's a metaphor for Hollywood. You gotta stay on the up and up, do the right things, make some good decisions. But yeah.
There was a lot of like insider language and lingo and jokes and whatnot for this entire attraction.
Yeah, that I think that guests would not pick up on.
No. So the limo driver then says, so you're late for your premiere. Don't worry, I got a few shortcuts. And then with a screech of tires, you're off on a wild trip through Hollywood. And you mentioned Rock and Roller Coaster. And yes, what happened was they actually took some of the ideas from this attraction and then they used it over there. So it makes sense that they look a lot alike. So no matter what route your limousine like took to the premiere, you'd encounter a pack of paparazzi like popping up to like take your picture, and then you see the click of the cameras and the flash of the bulbs, and then you kind of like swing away from them and go some other direction. Not my reputation.
You know what they would say? If the paparazzi took a picture of Kate in a limo going to her premiere, it'd probably be her reading a book or editing a video on her phone or writing. It would be it wouldn't be the most like scathing picture of Disney historian.
They'd have to make up some sort of story about what I was writing or reading to make it scandalous. Right. Look, she's reading in the car. What was she reading?
It would be something. Yeah, there's nothing.
Anyway, so at the end, you're unsuccessful in your attempt to evade the paparazzi, and they showed ride vehicles of guests riding Superstar Limo, and they kind of like superimposed you on the front of like a National Enquirer magazine, like a tabloid, right? And then politely, Michael Eisner would renege on his promised deal. He'd say, "Better luck next time, kid." And that would...
Which I think is pretty accurate. I think he would do that to you.
Yeah. And then you would step out onto the red carpet of Grauman's Chinese Theater, which I guess at this point, like the cast members were supposed to be cheering for you, kind of like you do when you go to All-Star Movies. I don't know if you've ever stayed there, but you like step out onto the red carpet when you get there and cheer for you. I feel like they borrowed that concept. And
every time I step into the All-Stars, I'm like, man, I really do feel like a movie star.
I do not, but I'm glad you do.
Nobody would.
Anyway, so you step out on the red carpet on Grauman's Chinese Theater, and then they have the Limo gift shop with little miniature Oscars and T-shirts and they say Hollywood's next big thing and like all those kinds of stuff. So that was the idea. And talking about kind of like the gags that are in it, like you were mentioning, they were meant to be kind of these like loud, obnoxious, kind of like obvious things that you would see, that you would get going by really, really fast. Because, you think about it, if you think about the rides like Haunted Mansion and Pirates of the Caribbean, where you're going by pretty slow pace, you have a lot of time to take in all the details. Yeah. But this, if you think of any fast roller coaster, you think like they're showing you one big thing like a concept they want you to get, that term that we've used of visual economy before, like you have like 2 seconds to get the idea of what they're trying to get across. And so they really didn't have a lot of sets for it. They only had a couple of like major pieces, because they figured people would be going by really fast. So I have a quote from Neil Engel, who is that show producer for Superstar Limo. And he said, Limo is a Disney turn on Hollywood. Again, the hip contemporary Hollywood that was really designed to be a show for the whole family. When you look around DCA, one of the things that we wanted to include in it was something that had its roots in classic Disney. Black light rides, color, and kind of crazy driving in a pretty car is a hallmark of a lot of our shows. So we said, how can we do that and still be contemporary and still be Hollywood? So what Superstar Limo is a chance for the whole family to experience the inside of Hollywood. What is it like for you to be a star? For you to experience the 15 minutes of fame everyone supposedly gets, according to Andy Warhol, and all in 3.5 minutes. So what it is our pastiche on Hollywood, and in a sense we overloaded it with lots of scenery and lots of visual gags, because you're driving through a city, and a city by its very nature is, oh my God, what is that? Oh my God, what is that? So it's really supposed to be kind of like in your face, and I'd have to ride that 10 times really to see what's going on. It was really on purpose that way. So he's kind of talking about like where we're going next into this. So my apologies if that quote was a little bit early, but so what happened with this ride? I know you know what happened with that concept.
I mean, it comes from tragedy, right? So the concept of paparazzi chasing down a limo comes to a halt with the passing of Princess Diana. So those people, there was 3 people who passed. That was August 31st, 1997. And so as a result, they thought it would be in poor taste to have a limo and paparazzi. So now they have to completely reframe and give a new identity to Superstar Limo. So Gone is a fast-paced, more thrilling attraction, which honestly, when you look back at most people's research, the opinions of most historians of this is that the original ride and attraction would have actually probably been pretty fun. And I think if you liken it to Rock and Roller Coaster, it still is a very big fan favorite, even though it has kind of outdated technology. It's still black light. It still has like warning corkscrew on signs. Like, so like visual economy, you go through a giant donut. Like it's really kind of, it's not great. It's but it still is enjoyable enough for guests to want to re-ride it. So now we have to completely reframe this into something that isn't focused on the paparazzi chasing you down to the point where you have to speed.
Yeah, I mean, it really just was very unfortunate timing, and I mean, there's never a good time for something like that to happen. It's a tragedy, but, like that they were planning the specific ride with this storyline, and then this happened. And it's like, I think it was a combination of like, just morally, like we shouldn't do this because people are going to be like, why would you have a ride like that?
It's also a combination of the personality, right? Like I remember growing up, Princess Diana was a big thing for even people in the States. She garnered lots and lots of attention. So this whole it'd be different if it was a smaller celebrity, something that was like lesser significance in terms of global cultural impact. And I'm not saying that any death should be less impactful, but this one in particular really was visible. So,
well, it's interesting. since the picture that I showed you guys a few minutes ago is like I went to Kensington Gardens with my family on this trip when we just went to London, and you can still see people are still leaving flowers for her at the gates of Kensington Gardens, and she has an entire playground there that's dedicated to children that my kids got to play in, and actually made me like super melancholy because I feel like along with a lot of, like the Kennedy assassination and like 9/11, like major events, I feel like where you were when Princess Di like passed away was like, you kind of remember that. It's like something that sticks in your head. Like I remember I was at the beach with my family and I wasn't even that old at that point, but it's like, it's just one of those things that like, it was a big deal. So I think it was wise for them to pivot away from that. However, that really put them in a quandary, like what do we do now with this space? Right. Where do we go from here? So do they postpone for a few years? Do they build something else? And they did play around with the idea of bringing Twilight Zone Tower of Terror to the park, because at that point it wasn't going to be in the park yet.
And they were actually talking, which I thought was kind of cool, is potentially maybe something with a hotel in conjunction with the attraction. So it wasn't just going to be necessarily the tower. They kicked around the tires of maybe having an attraction and a hotel, which would have been insane.
Amazing. I know.
Yeah. I mean, that exists in other Disney parks where there are hotels. I mean, in Paris, right in the front, there's a hotel that's attached there. I know in Tokyo Disneyland Sea, like you can look out into the parks. It's actually really kind of interesting cultural thing that happens in Japan. Anybody who's staying at that hotel will wave to you from their balconies. So like when you're leaving, it's everybody who's like already in their hotel rooms waves at you. It's really cute.
Aw, love that. The other things they're thinking about doing is kind of having like the Great Movie Ride was also something they kicked around for that as well. I do have in my notes that Rock and Roller Coaster was an idea, but I'm like, that was kind of developed at the same time. So I think that was more like, what if we retheme it into like a totally different theme? And then they thought it was still too close to everything that happened at that point.
Yeah.
To do that because they wanted to make it Hollywood themed. So it was just too much. So they decided to change the concept. They removed a lot of the references to the paparazzi. They made the ride move as slow as possible. So it moved less than 3 feet per second, which is equivalent to Pinocchio, if you guys have been on the Pinocchio dark ride. And the Imagineers didn't like the direction it was going in, and they recommended to cancel the project. But Michael Eisner refused because he loved all the inside jokes about Hollywood and LA, and he thought it was funny. So they didn't. They kept going. Eisner particularly loved a really specific gag that was prominently featured in the concept art and the mock-up version of the ride that was called Dream Jerk Studio instead of DreamWorks Studio. And this was all based on his rivalry with Jeffrey Katzenberg. Now, we talked about this back when we debated Michael Eisner a while ago, but basically what happened between them was Michael Eisner brought Jeffrey Katzenberg to Disney to begin with. And everybody expected Jeffrey Katzenberg to be promoted to Frank Wells' position when Frank Wells passed away in like a tragic accident. So Jeffrey Katzenberg, for those of you who don't know, he was a producer of Beauty and the Beast, The Little Mermaid, Lion King, Aladdin, like all of that. Like
Disney Renaissance.
Yeah. So he really was like responsible for a lot of those really amazing movies. So he was expecting to be promoted, and he didn't. Instead, Michael Eisner just absorbed the position and made himself president and CEO instead of like raising him up. It was just not a good situation between the two of them. So this annoyed Jeffrey Katzenberg. He left the company in 1994. Also, Eisner refused to pay Katzenberg his contractual bonus, despite Katzenberg's offer to accept $60 million as a settlement, which was much less than he is actually owed. So Katzenberg was then forced to take issue to the court, and the court ruled in his favor, and the final settlement was $280 million. He had a very public fight with Michael Eisner. They were really like, it was very public. And Michael Eisner said a quote that I can't even say all of it on here because it's not polite to say, but Eisner said, "I think I hate the little," and then there's an M word in there that I don't want to say on here. So he was not shy about saying how much he didn't like him. So the Dream Jerk Studio was a direct dig at Jeffrey Katzenberg. And to Michael Eisner's credit, he didn't put it in the final attraction, so he never actually made it into the attraction. So I don't know if he decided to do that or somebody talked him off the ledge of having it in there or what. I don't know exactly what happened there, but it didn't end up in the actual attraction. That's a great photo you've got there.
He's wearing a halo, Kate. He's an angel and a saint.
Sure.
For those that are listening, I pulled up a picture with disdain over all this. I knew this was going to happen, so I took many pictures of positivity from Michael Eisner's eras because I knew this was going to be slander this entire time. So it's Michael Eisner with a halo over his head, and it says the good years.
The good years, and then there was also some bad years.
It's fine. You know, we can't all be good.
We did, for those of you who missed that episode where we debated Michael Eisner, we did come to a truce in the end and say that there were both good years and bad years for Michael Eisner, and he did both good and maybe not so great things for Disney. And I think we came
totally
to an agreement about that. So
yeah, we just wholeheartedly disagree with the fact that he basically paved the era for really great theme parks.
1994, Kirk, 1994. So
never ends, kid.
Never ends.
This is the worst. Anyway, as Kate had alluded, budgets had been cut. They decided to tone down the attraction. They still wanted to keep some of the campiness and that two-dimensional. Two-dimensional was always the go-to for cheap dark ride anything in Disney's culture. So that's exactly what we're going to get here. On the exterior, it's just various locations around LA, Hollywood. So what Kate's showing is the world's shortest train line, which is that in Hollywood?
LA. Yeah, it's in LA. It's called Angel's Flight.
Yeah, so that's right here back on this section.
And this did have an accident where the cable snapped on it and somebody passed away like a few, I think it was days or weeks before this attraction opened. But by that point, it was already in
crazy timing for that.
Yeah. They did not have good luck with this attraction.
They did not. So there's a couple other things. I do have some pictures of the real life, the Beverly Hills Hotel, Union Station. So there you go. You can see the clock tower in Kate's picture and then those big archways. Because it was like you were entering. If you just tilt yourself a little bit so you get the Union Station sign in there. There you go. So you get Union Station. You can see that archway a little bit better. And then next thing that they had is they also had the Beverly Hills Hotel. You can obviously see the Hollywood sign, but there's the Beverly Hills Hotel. And then here is what the Beverly Hills Hotel actually looks like. It's pretty cool.
I look at all that traffic. Ah.
Yeah.
It's accurate.
That's pretty much how it still is. Traffic is very, very normal.
And then did you see about the gag that like nobody understood in the front of this attraction that is still kind of there today? So there is on the very bottom, you can see it here. Look at the planter that has the plants in it down near the bottom.
Oh, it's the pool, right? It's supposed to be a pool.
Yeah, it has like a little ladder that looks like you're climbing into a swimming pool.
But why is it supposed to be a pool?
Yeah, well, it doesn't make sense. Like nobody understood it. Like you just have this pool filled with plants.
Yeah, it was like they used originally when they planted it. It was all white plants. They weren't even blue. And that was supposed to be like the reflection of the sunlight onto the pool. But again, I don't know why that existed or why that was significant.
But it's still there minus the ladder. So if you go there today, the planter is still there. So
that's yeah. Look, it's got like this little guardrail and everything.
Yeah, it actually looks a little bit more like a pool now because it's like blue.
Yeah, with the blue like the down here. Yeah, yeah, for sure. And keep in mind, kids, I know we're going ahead here. Notice the way that the structure looks like now versus the way the structure looked like before. It is the same structure, just rethemed over top. Like you can see on the left-hand side, if you go just a little bit to the Beverly Hills Hotel, you can see that's the Beverly Hills Hotel right there with the doors. But I think the doors look really cool. I think it's actually a really good effect the way that they redid it. But anyway, that's moving ahead.
Yes, we'll get there. they were also supposed to have that theme building, remember, from the airport, but because of their budget got slashed like repeatedly during this project, and so they didn't end up putting that theme building in there. But they kept the idea that you were going into an airport.
Oh,
You
yeah.
went through Union Station, which makes no sense. So it's like you go through Union Station, but then you're at LAX. So none of that actually made all that much sense.
You mean when you go into baggage claim at Union Station, it doesn't look like this?
Well, I don't know. I haven't been to Union Station, maybe. Probably doesn't say LAX on it, but
No.
yeah. So now we can go in. So they had all these things. They had these announcements that were going, that would say announcing arrivals basically at LAX. That's what you would hear, and then you go inside the queue here, which is what Kirk is showing you. They had baggage claim. They had posters with Hollywood jokes on them. They had the arrivals announcements, and then they had my favorite is Joan Rivers, a version of Joan Rivers.
She's already got it up. Yeah, she looks like a puppet. It's like almost like it's like a marionette, and it's horrifying.
I have a quote about it from Neil Engel. He said, "We worked with this team of puppet designers and makers, and it actually takes 4 people each to run each one of those. We wanted to keep them very similar in look to our caricature profiles inside the ride, so we kept the same sort of caricaturized kind of Hollywood Goonie kind of feel. But they did Joan Rivers like dirty on this. This is terrible."
They all look awful.
Scary.
Every single one of these puppets, and even the animatronics inside, are all
Minimatronics. Yeah. She said, Hollywood's newest sensation is going to be a big star. I'm talking big, bigger than Madonna, bigger than Leonardo. Do you know what I'm saying? Yes, of course you do. That's like what she says. So yeah, Joan Rivers with creepy puppet version of Joan Rivers.
And I'll just throw in here, we're going to talk about a lot of celebrities as we go through this attraction, because that's really basically what you're seeing is like a who's who of who was popular back then. But it's not really like everybody who's popular, because they weren't going to pay for the rights for certain people. So basically, most of these folks had some sort of attachment and entertainment that they could use their likeness in the ride to pay very little, or they already had it in their catalog to be able to utilize.
Right. Basically, they already had contracts with the Walt Disney Company in one way or another. And as we go through this, we'll talk about with each specific celebrity we see. I actually have like their connection back to Disney so that you can know why they're there. Because otherwise it seems this like random smattering of B-list celebrities in the ride.
You mean Antonio Banderas isn't like your normal? That's immediately who I think of when I think of Disneyland.
It's right, and it's like, and like Drew Carey, which he did some things with Disney back in the day, so he made a little bit more sense. But then there was there's Cindy Crawford, and then there's like there's Whoopi Goldberg, and there's just like this like it doesn't make any sense logically.
The promotion for this too also makes no sense. The actors that they used to promote this in a commercial was horrendous as well.
Was it like whose line is it anyway? Some of them?
Yeah, it was. Yep, it was some of them. It was Rosie O'Donnell.
Oh yeah, Rosie O'Donnell. Yeah. That was a great clip. Yeah, so that's the cue, and then the cast members. Instead of saying how many was in your party, they asked you how many in your entourage. Is what they asked you.
Foreshadowing.
Fancy. Are we ready to get on the ride itself?
I mean, who wouldn't want to ride this thing? See Disney's California Adventure like the stars. Superstar Limo. Hollywood Pictures backlot. Like, who doesn't want to ride that limo? Yeah, that's fancy. A big, purpley, sparkly limousine that goes 3 miles per hour.
Really, really slow.
So this is kind of interesting because most of the attractions, dark ride-wise, especially when they were using that kind of like old school dark ride technology that you would see in a Pinocchio, or even some of the slot car technology. But this was rudimentary, but it did have a slightly higher capacity with a 3rd row. Previous to this, really, if you think about most of Disney's dark rides, 2 row at best, and that was when they added rows to certain ones, because most of them were 1 row in the beginning, especially like a Peter Pan, your Pinocchio. It wasn't Alice 1 row. Or is Alice still one row?
Alice is 2 rows, but you can really only fit one adult in the front because it's so small.
Oh, really?
So yeah, you can. Technically they used to seat 2 in the front, but now it's really tiny. But they also use this 3-seat configuration for Winnie the Pooh that was opened around the same time in Disneyland. So they have a 3-seater in Winnie the Pooh.
You have 3 seats in Winnie the Pooh?
Yeah, it's like a giant beehive.
All the time, or is it just one?
All the time.
What?
Yeah.
I wonder how much. Is your capacity really good on that?
Yeah, there's hardly ever a line unless it's like a super busy day. So
yeah, because I was gonna say if we had 3 in that would help tremendously for that ride.
Yeah, and it's not as popular as some of the other rides. Like they expected it to be more popular in Disneyland than it actually was, because of its popularity over in Disney World. It's extremely popular there, but partially because of where it's located, it's tucked way in the back near the exit of like Splash Mountain is where it is. So it's not in Fantasyland where everybody's just hopping from ride to ride. It's like you have to.
Don't they have that delicious like bakery case back there? If that's not enough,
they do.
Of a carrot to bring people. I always love this Tigger Tails.
Tigger Tails, yeah. I think
they're really good.
It's a great place to go for your kids while you're waiting for somebody to go on Splash Mountain. So that's the main draw to be back there. I mean, I like the ride. It's fine, but they blew it like up like it's going to be this huge major thing. And a lot of people, the response from it was like, it's fine. It's like flats and, not that big a deal. So anyway, that's Winnie the Pooh. But going back to Superstar Limo, it at some point, I think Michael Eisner started to realize that this ride maybe wasn't the greatest.
And like any good leader, pulls himself out of it and replaces himself with a really smarmy, gross-looking Hollywood agent puppet.
Swifty La Rue was who you see on the little screens inside your limo. And he does have like live human hands, but then he has a puppet face. So if you're ever trying to figure out like why he looks so creepy, that's why. It's like his face isn't real, but his hands are. So it's like our brains are like, what is happening there?
He's creepy because you know what's really bad is he wearing, oh gosh, it's so bad. He has a giant, huge collar, wide open, smoking a cigar, bald. He was described as a greasy, foul-mouthed, and like basically very brusque human. And it was and that's kind of the joke too that I don't think most guests would understand is that a Hollywood agent like Swifty La Rue would be kind of your like, he's like kind of like of a I don't know, like it seems like a swindler. He doesn't seem like somebody that you would trust, and yet these poor actors, that's what they have as their agents.
I just, if I'm such a big star, I am not going to have that guy represent me. I'm just
Swifty La Rue?
No.
What do you mean, Audie? He's like kissing the whole time. He's like blowing smooches the whole. It's so weird.
It's creepy.
He's kissing the entire time. It's very strange.
You start off with this LAX ground transportation area. That's where you're loading. So it's like you're at the airport. You're getting in your limo to take you to Hollywood. Your chauffeur says, "Hey, aren't you Hollywood's newest superstar? Please be sure to keep your arms, legs, and egos inside the limo at all time." And I really do love this map from Park Lore. I think they did a great job with this.
He did an amazing job. And I love that he overlaid the Monsters ink on top of it, too. So it has a really smooth feature. So, yeah, if you check out Park Lore, we've used Park Lore before for ride layouts and maps. They're just really, really helpful. But, yes, to what Kate was talking about, you leave that ground transportation area, and now we're moving into a dark tunnel, which there are a ton of different tunnels, and each one of these tunnels is when Swifty La Rue is usually saying something to you, and basically starts out in this attraction saying, "All right, babe, you got to make it to sign your contract in time, so don't be late, all right?"
He says, so this is really important. It's your picture phone rings, and your chauffeur says, "There's a collect call for you. It's your new agent."
Also, you collect. You gotta accept the charges.
He's like so smarmy that he won't even like pay if he won't even call.
No.
He's like, Swifty here, babe. Welcome to Hollywood, looking sensational.
What? No. Do your voice. I know you have a Swifty. No, that's your Swifty voice.
He blows kisses to you, and it's like, listen, I have your contract for you at the premiere, okay? Just get to the Chinese theater pronto, you hear me? I don't got a voice. You got the voice. You have the voice. Everybody's waiting. Capiche? Now don't be late, babe. More takings. Dude, the voice is not my voice.
My God.
I did it for you, Kirk. You have the right.
Welcome back to live tape Distory. Oh, it feels good to be back. It's good. Some endorphins. Oh my goodness. That was a good Swifty. That was a good Swifty La Rue. That was as good as it gets.
So he's blowing all the kisses. You're going through the tunnel, and then you go into the Beverly Hills is where we start, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we do.
So chauffeur says, "Don't worry, we'll get you there in time." Our first stop is glamorous Rodeo Drive, and there is Regis Philbin, and that's my final answer.
Ride is so bad.
So bad. Regis was the co-host of Buena Vista Television's hit syndicated series Live with Regis and Kelly. Some of you might remember that show. And he was also MC of ABC's hit game show Super Millionaire, which is why he's holding the money. He's doing the silver. Oh, God, I can't. It's so bad.
You know what it looks like? It looks like somebody bought a really terrible Regis Philbin mask for like Halloween. It's like a horrible one, like a purge mask of Regis Philbin.
Okay, Kirk, we have to do our best impression of this. Nice. Yeah, so Regis Philbin, and that's why he felt that he owed much of his fame and fortune to Disney, which is why when WDI called him and said, like, hey, will you like be in Superstar Limo? He said yes, because he just owed a lot to Disney. That's why Regis Philbin is
now they owe him a lot.
Alrighty, so that's in Beverly Hills. Do we have any other pictures of Beverly Hills? I mostly had.
I had Melanie Griffith and Antonio Banderas. Oh my God, so bad.
Look at his face. He looks like he's going to pop you. With his fleshy in his hand.
He's so menacing with his crushed velour suit, squatty and death stare.
So Melanie Griffith, Melanie made a number of films for Disney back in the 90s, including Paradise, A Stranger Among Us, Born Yesterday, and Too Much, TWO Much. And that's where she met husband Antonio Banderas. Her then husband, though, Don Johnson, hosted an American version of the TV special that celebrated the grand opening of Euro Disneyland. So she was also connected to Disney that way. Antonio Banderas made an appearance in several Disney movies like Miami Rhapsody, Evita, The 13th Warrior, and Spy Kids 1, 2, and 3D. And then, of course, he met Melody on the set of Too Much. So that's why they're there together doing whatever it is they're doing. With
all right.
Streak.
Who do you want to be? Do you want to be Melody or do you want to be Antonio?
Have to be Melanie. I've got a drink.
Right. Okay. I'll be Antonio then. All right, hang on. I gotta flip this. Flip.
I feel like you gotta do that with scary eyes.
It's so bad.
It's so bad.
They're the worst. Okay, next up would be Cindy Crawford.
Hold on, wait.
What?
Yes, and so The chauffeur says, and then there's Hollywood beauty Cindy Crawford. And Cindy had a 3-year development deal with ABC Television and served as an online hostess for California Adventure when Disney.com began offering previews of Disneyland Resort's newest theme park. So she was like heavily involved on the online promotion of California Adventure. And that's why she's hanging out there doing whatever she's doing.
she's selling perfume here. She's spraying perfume in front of dollars and cents, which I thought was a good gag. All right, what's your best Cindy Crawford?
I need to see her closer. Like, I need to...
Okay, hang on.
Ready for my close-up.
All right, Mr. DeVille.
I need something. Here, hold on. Is she holding, like, a watch? What is she holding?
That's her perfume.
Oh, I'll use this. Like, should I do it the other way? No.
Yeah. I think that's the look, because she doesn't have her she's got like her mouth, it's like a stare out, but it's like an open mouth, so it's like, I will never be a model, kid. All right, so we're still on Sunset Strip. We're heading now to Tim Allen. He is wearing suspenders. He's in front of a comedy club called Laughter Shocks, and he is wearing suspenders with a microphone, and he looks horrible. He looks like Frankenstein.
He looks like something like has melted his face. It's so bad. Melted his face. And he's very nonchalant about it. So Home Improvement, the show he started, was produced by Disney's television division, as were 3 of his feature films, Santa Claus, Jungle to Jungle, and Santa Claus 2, of course, the other Santa Clauses as well. Tim Allen, of course, was also the voice of Buzz Lightyear in Toy Story franchise. And 2 of his best-selling books, Don't Stand Too Close to a Naked Man and I'm Not Really Here, were both published by Disney's Hyperion Press. So he had a lot of connections to Disney and was no doubt under contract. So that's how we have what they call him, like TV's funny man. They have like a...
Yeah, I don't know. I don't want to call him that.
He said, the world-famous Sunset Strip, hold your sides, everyone. It's funny man Tim Allen. That's what your show
Hold your sides. And in fact, in their like commercial reel, the one guy's holding his sides as they drive past them. Yeah, I love, this is great. So instead of the Copacabana, the Cobra Cabana. I like that one. That was a clever one. All right, ready? You got your best Tim Allen Frankenface? I feel like he needs like bolts in his neck.
I feel like rolling his eyes or something. I need him to hold. See?
That's pretty good. I think you nailed that one. Hang on. All right. He's like very nonchalant, like.
He looks bored.
I think everybody else felt the same way.
Alrighty. So still on the Sunset Strip, we also have the chauffeur says, Jackie Chan, care to rumble? Like, the script here is the part of the reason the script feels really kind of disjointed and not like really cohesive is because they had a lot of cooks in the kitchen for this attraction. It was kind of like this group was working on this section, this group was working on this section. There wasn't like one show writer that wrote the whole thing all the way through to make it all cohesive. It was just like a mess. So yeah, there's Jackie Chan.
Lem makes a good point. Hey, Tim, you want to make Santa Claus 2? Pose for this ride.
Nice. So Jackie Chan, you might be asking what in the world Jackie Chan had to do with anything. Well, he sang the title song for the Chinese release of Disney's Beauty and the Beast, and also the Mandarin and Cantonese versions of the studio's release for Mulan.
I didn't know that. That's wild.
Yeah, he was the voice of Shang for Cantonese and Mandarin. So he was a voice artist for those movies. And then he also did live action work in Touchstone Pictures, which of course is kind of like the more adult division of Disney movies, Shanghai Noon and Shanghai Nights. So that's where Jackie Chan is connected back to Disney.
Okay.
We're trying to make sense of this attraction anyway.
What doesn't make sense is why is he standing next to a guitar holding a guitar string?
electric.
I mean, the only thing you could say is that because he was like voice acting / singing, like maybe.
It does have music coming out of it. But...
Yeah, and behind it, though, it says Martini a Go-Go. I don't know. Don't try to make sense of it. Just move on.
Well, then there's the big UFO.
And there's a mummy billboard behind that. So
like you go under the big UFO, which, because you do. That's just what you do in LA, apparently, is the UFO. And then you head into, you get another agent called Blackout. So you're going to, it's going to call Swifty La Rue.
What did you call him? Chesty? Chesty La Rue?
Simpsons or something.
It is. Yeah. Do you want to know what the other one is?
No, I can't remember. What?
Chesty La Rue and Busty Sinclair.
Yes.
That's from The Simpsons.
I was going to call him Swifty La Rue, which is...
Swifty La Rue.
He says, hey, where are you? I repeat, don't be late.
Why is he kissing the whole time? It's still like that.
A lot of kisses. And then we enter in the Bel Air area. So your chauffeur says, welcome to Bel Air, where the streets are paved with royalties and hype. How about a map to your house, Drew Carey? So we see old Drew Carey here.
Talking pictures or maps to the stars, which is kind of weird because why does he have maps to the stars? He's a star at this point. I guess he's selling maps to his own place.
Well, okay. So part of the reason that the celebrities exist in here is because they realized that they didn't have enough plot to make this an actual ride. Like, there's just not enough story here. It's like you get off of the airplane and then you like see LA, like that's it. Because they're not like racing to a premiere or anything. Like you're not doing what you were originally supposed to be doing. You're just kind of touring LA. So they said, how can we make this more exciting for people? And they said, let's add some celebrities to it. So they're like, well, one of the things you do is when you go to LA, you want to, celebrity sightings are like a big deal in LA, right? Apparently. So that's probably where they get this concept of like, not only do we see the celebrity, it's kind of a joke in itself because it's a celebrity sighting and he's showing you where to see other celebrities. Does that make sense?
No, but that's okay. Dude, do you think this is a call out to Disney Sea with the ship all the way in the back? Right?
Tell me. Like Port Disney? Yeah.
That's Port Disney right there.
Yeah. Yeah.
Same exact smokestacks as the
Queen.
Yeah, as the Queen Mary.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they could be. Drew Carey had a lot of connections to Disney. He signed a TV development deal with Disney back in 1991, right after his appearance on The Tonight Show with Johnny Carson. But that original development deal kind of fell through. But The Drew Carey Show took off, debuted on ABC in the fall of 1995. He also had a best-selling novel, Dirty Jokes and Beer, Stories of the Unrefined, which was published by Disney's Hyperion Press. In the summer of 1999, there was an Americanized version of the British TV show, Whose Line Is It Anyway, which obviously became a massive hit. And then Drew Carey just loved the Disney parks in general. So he took part in the opening and promotion of Disney's Animal Kingdom and California Adventure. And that's kind of why it's like a no-brainer that he's in here. And he also had his own theme park attraction at Disney's MGM Studios called Sounds Dangerous. So this is not the only attraction that Drew Carey was in Disney.
Yep, and he's still there. That's exciting.
All right, let's see. Where are we headed next in this wacky...
we are now heading to the Blackout Underwater.
Oh, yes. Sponsors are also seeking endorsements. Endorse our soda. Sell our sneakers. This is like influencer life right here. Just sign here.
Although I get the weirdest ones ever.
Me too.
I got one about toddler teething toys, and I was like, did you ever see a single video I've ever made?
It's like some of the things that I've been offered to promote, I can't even talk about here. We'll just say that. I'm like, what part of my content makes you think that would be a fit for me? Nope.
They get you. They understand you, Kate.
It's something. Anyway, so Chauffeur says, pool party, hold your breath now. The picture phone rings and Swifty's back saying, come on, be Swifty's favorite star and get here now. And they go to Malibu where...
Hang on, time out, though. We do get to see Donald Duck.
Oh, yeah.
As we're jumping underwater, which makes no sense, but sure.
She's got long legs, I will tell you. This very orange woman with maybe a fake tan. That's the only reason why I think she might be that orange. Like, she's very, very orange.
Is she jumping off the Queen Mary?
I don't know.
Like, there's like a life raft over a life preserver over there.
It could be. That's interesting.
Yeah.
Now we ready to head to Malibu?
Sure.
Malibu, where the beautiful people become even more beautiful.
How do they do it?
I don't know. But one of my favorite parts about this is they have like a spoof on Madame Leota. She says, angels, execs, producers beyond, give us a sign. The green light is on.
Yeah, and it's Melissa Joan Hart in the crystal ball.
Oh, that I didn't know. That's
awesome. It's Melissa Joan Hart, and to the right of her, it says a seance room. Yep. And yeah, it's a spoof on Madame Leota. So hang on, let me just cue this up.
Producer beyond. Give us this sign. It's where you light is on.
Oh my gosh. Terrible.
Like, hey, Melissa, you want to explain it all? Then you're going to need to do this.
Oh my gosh. Well, that was
terrible.
It's like, let's tie in something from the other park just randomly.
Yeah, it makes no sense.
It doesn't make any sense at all.
No.
And then
we go past Muscle Beach.
And then that's where we run into Cher, who is actually the last minimatronic, by the way. They're not audio animatronics. They're called minimatronics because they have minimal motion. So that's if you've never heard that term before, minimatronics. But she was one of the last ones to be installed because her contract was the last one to get firmed up. So she wasn't there during cast previews or annual pass previews. She was installed after. So she was there by opening day, but not during any previews, which I thought was interesting.
Can I say something?
Yes.
Just her head kind of looks like Cher.
Yeah.
Now, there is a fun visual gag here. I like that she's wearing leggings, but it's fishnet, and there's little fish on her fishnet stockings or whatever. That made me laugh.
Yeah, I mean, part of the creepiness of this is because they're supposed to be like caricatures. Is their head is so much larger than their bodies, so like it's intentional, but it's creepy looking. Like it's just not. I actually don't have any notes about how she's connected, so we can move on from Cher. Unless you want to do an impression of Cher.
Here, I'll do an impression of Cher real easy. Hang on. Oop, flip it.
You're sleeping.
That's what she looks like. Dude, she is sleeping. She's not doing anything else.
Yeah. Why did they make her look like she's sleeping? So weird. They're like, maybe it was in her contract. He's like, you can have my likeness, but you can't have my eyes.
I'm not gonna lie, that thing's Cher seemed real creepy. And I
don't know if that's true. I'm just saying. It's like,
I could have everything but my eyes. Funny. Okay.
Glad we're back.
Next thing we head into is, it says tattoos here.
Yeah, tattoos.
It's like there was like a mom tattoo in this tunnel. It makes no sense. It's just like random tattoos.
It's for your tattoo parlor culture, I guess, is what they're trying to get. And then your chauffeur says, tattoos are all the rage. Shall I ink you in for one?
No, please. No.
I'm good. Keep driving.
Yeah.
When we run into the paparazzi, which they did actually kind of like keep in there, just not as extreme. They're not chasing you down.
They just they pop out like twice and take pictures, and then there's one part where it's like fans asking for autographs. But yeah, this is like right before we get into the studio gates. They just pop out and take pictures.
Well,
they're on the
fans. These are
Yeah, those are fans. There's like on the right-hand side of that scene, there's paparazzi. But again, it's just like caricatures with flats and cameras.
Yeah. And they say, look up and say cheese. Show us your pearly whites. Smile for the camera. 1, 2, yow, as he falls off his ladder.
He sounded like Fran Drescher.
That's that. I can sing that song, but we won't sing it here. So now we get to the studio gates, and the chauffeur says, everywhere you turn, there are Hollywood studios, which I think is funny because that's like later that became the name of our Disney park, but it wasn't at the time. They have a monster movie. They have a barnyard musical. They have a Superstar Studios. And this is where they would have had the Dream Jerk studio, I'm guessing, is in this part. But this is
like a mini great movie ride, in my opinion.
Yeah. Because you can see in it, they can have like this giant, you see behind the scenes of the people who are like controlling the monster's leg, these guys on ropes that are clearly backstage, but a little out of control. And it says hot set, and hot set looks like it's on fire. And the jokes are just so bad. I don't think I have any of the other ones, but so then we go to you see the fans, and then you go to the premiere entrance. So the chauffeur says, well, this is it. It's the premiere of your very own movie. The chauffeur also says, Hollywood favorite Whoopi Goldberg. So now we have Whoopi Goldberg shows up on the red carpet. And you can remember that we had talked about how you were originally supposed to end in Grauman's Chinese Theater and get out on the red carpet. So instead of having it like at the end of the ride, when you get out of the ride, they just like incorporated it into the ride.
It's like you're going to the theater.
Oh, there she is. So
and there's that kind of facsimile in the background of the Chinese theater.
Whoopi Goldberg, she did films with the studio, including Sister Act and Sister Act 2, Back in the Habit. If you remember those ones from the early 90s.
Dude, Sister Act was a great film.
It was. No, 100% agree. She also did voice work for The Lion King. And her best-selling book, entitled Book, was published by Disney's Hyperion Press. And she also did TV work for ABC. She hosted the Academy Awards for the network, and she was already on board for another project for DCA, which you might remember. She was Khalifa, Goddess of California, for the Golden Dreams show, which is now Little Mermaid. That it used to be a show in there, and now it's the Little Mermaid Adventure in California Adventure. So she was already working in the park, so she came cheap, I bet, for this project. That's Whoopi Goldberg.
They probably made her feel better by saying you're going to be the last celebrity.
Yeah, like you're the grand finale.
Yeah, you're the star. You're the finale. Yep.
Yeah. And then that after that you oh wait, we have another few quotes here. So look, it's Hollywood's new sensation. And you know what that means, don't you, baby? You've arrived. That's what Whoopi Goldberg says. And then the chauffeur says, as they say in this town, looks like you're a big boffo, and don't let it go to your head. And I was like, what is that? Like, that must be like insider lingo. I looked up the term boffo, and it's a person who has extensive skill or knowledge in a particular field. So I'm guessing this is kind of like LA lingo.
I don't know why on earth they would ever use that.
Yeah, it was strange, but that was what was in it. And then they went to Hollywood. The chauffeur said, now there's a familiar face smiling down from that billboard, and this is where you would see your picture.
I got that.
Ironically, though, they never sold any pictures on the ride, or like they never sold ride photos. Yeah, like you would think they show you your picture, and then you're going to want to get off of the ride and go purchase your photo, right? Like we do. But they were never available for purchase the entire time the ride was open. So that was actually, I think, a missed opportunity for Disney, because who wouldn't want those memorable moments captured for all eternity?
The funniest part is that I feel like the picture that I have is how everyone feels when they would be on it. Like everyone's just like, oh, God. Although this guy's
What
got
happened to me?
so this is the guy who recorded it.
Yeah.
Guess that's his camcorder up there, you know?
Yep.
But like that kid looks shocked. They're like, oh man, and this is also the part of the story where everything is titled You. So it's like the You fan club.
Oh, the You fan club.
You popcorn. Right. Just You fan club. And then there's the
job,
You.
You.
Right. And then there's the You merchandise and just says You on the jackets. There's also toys that say Your Toys. It's like, what? I don't know.
I mean, of all ways to like end the ride, it's just like let's just celebrate them. They're the stars. And it's like,
Listen, I'm not much of a boffo on You, but
watch me like it turns out that that's some sort of like super horrible thing.
oh, dude, is it bad? I thought you said it was not.
It was in the script.
How do you spell it?
I don't know. Boffo. It's in the script, so it can't be that bad. I hope. But
Hang on. No. Hang on. I think that's how you pronounce it. Hang on.
Boffo.
A theatrical production or movie or review of one. Very successful or wholehearted commentary. Or a success.
Yeah.
The grand finale is a genuine boffo.
Yep. That's I guess that's how you could. So Swifty's blowing more kisses to you and says, I love ya. And then they go to Melrose Avenue and the announcer says, ladies and gentlemen, Hollywood's newest sensation. And chauffeur says, don't you look good on camera? And that's what I call a superstar. Let me grab some popcorn because I'll know I'll be seeing you a lot in the movies. And that's that. They had some of the best merch though, from what I hear. They had some of the best ride merch of like any ride in Disney parks. Because they had those like little mini Oscars and like all these like, I don't know. They said they had really great merch.
So generic.
I don't know.
I don't know if I agree with that.
That's just what I heard. But I haven't seen a lot of the set merch except for some pins and stuff. So I don't know. Yeah.
I do have a ride review of this attraction.
I think this is my favorite part. Is now we do the review section. This is the reception, the reception. If you know.
Hated it. Absolutely hated it. As one person put it, the space will be better devoted to something more entertaining, such as an audio animatronic dentist doing root canals on all Imagineers who came up with the idea for Superstar Limo.
Tom Wilson, who is Biff from Back to the Future, made this comment at the Thea Awards during a Men in Black alien attack segment. He said, at the end of the attraction, Will Smith zaps you so you won't remember anything that happened in the past 5 minutes. Disney, of course, is looking to install the same finale for Superstar Limo.
They need that. They need that bad.
Do you have more? I have more. Do you have more?
No, go for it. That's the only one I can find.
I just kind of highlighted my favorites. So this one is from a media response from the Orange County Register from 2001. So it says, Superstar Limo is about as cheesy as the National Enquirer. You know you're in for a letdown when you're greeted at LAX by Joan Rivers' animated talking head, which, by the way, actually looks better than the real person.
Oh, geez, dude.
Mean.
Yeah, who is anything?
And then they also said in the Longview Daily News, they said, I think they should change the name of this ride from Superstar Limo to It's a Shill World. In the Rocky Mountain News in 2001, they said, there's a whole bunch of it, but it says Disney honcho Michael Eisner supposedly loves it, and that's all that counts. He said, he also said, Superstar Limo proves that even the talented Disney Imagineers can make errors on occasion.
Yeah, I mean, it was an awful attraction.
Yeah. And
yeah, go for it. Yep.
Oh, listen, the joke around the cast member kind of like water cooler was that Superstar Limo literally lowered guests' IQ points.
I mean, what's crazy about this attraction is it had one of the shortest lengths of operation, which is insane to me.
Yeah.
You know?
It was
still
had a cost to it. You know, it was not cheap to build.
Yeah, they had to build it. They had to pay people to work on it. They had, I mean, everything that went into it.
It was like
and it
34
closed
million is what they paid for it.
And it closed in January of 2002.
There was not even a full year in operation.
Which didn't even
Not even a full year.
And think about it, like the ride was operational, like it was working. It's not like, but the concept of the ride was not working. Like that's how horrendous it was.
No, and it's interesting because so there's actual physical like guest surveys that people have seen from this time. And on the days when this ride was not operating, all of the guest satisfaction scores were much higher than if they had went on this attraction. It physically lowered the guest satisfaction score. Which is really saying something.
That reminds me of like Roller Coaster Tycoon. Somebody will like be right next to a trash can and they'll be like, there's not enough trash cans. And they'll just throw it on the ground. And there goes my customer satisfaction score. I should have just deleted the trash can. So there was a lot of concepts of what to do with this space because again,
can I say something really quick?
Sure.
I just want to say that this closed on January 10th, it's my birthday, so I'm very excited that this actually physically closed on my birthday.
Great.
Really happy.
And you're saying Michael Eisner never gave you any present.
2002, I got a big present for Michael.
You got a big present for Michael. Yeah. So, all right. So this attraction closes January 10th, 2002, and it gets no reopening, no retheme, no discussion for a while. It gets parked. And then eventually...
They claimed that it was unplanned stresses on the ride system that necessitated its closure. But a lot of people speculated that it was just because those guest satisfaction surveys were so low that they just didn't want to open it to raise the satisfaction of guests.
No, well, I mean, stressors is correct. You would feel stressed and anxious after riding it. So technically they weren't lying. They were just being, stretching the truth a little bit. So I thought some of the different concepts that Imagineers had to retheme this were really interesting. Some of them were much better than others. And in fact, I almost wish that we got one of them.
Yes, me too.
That we ended up...
One.
Yeah, probably. So one of them, I know they were talking about potentially doing a Fab Five kind of like who's who of all the characters from Mickey. And in fact, I think Disney stores were removing some of these characters they had in their possession all of these different like statues and figures, so they could have put them throughout the ride. So that was like one concept.
Yeah.
Another concept.
It was called Goofy Superstar Limo. And they would have had over 100 Disney characters from those Disney stores to try
which probably would have been fine. It wouldn't have been great, but it probably would have been fine because guests would have been happier seeing them versus, celebrities at least.
Yeah, and it was partially to combat the image that DCA had gotten by that point of not being a park that was friendly for kids at all. Like it really was like teenager to adult park. There's nothing for kids there because this is long before they put in the Bugs Land area and all the stuff for kids. There was nothing for kids there. So they were like, okay, if we put this Goofy Superstar Limo in, then at least it'll appeal to children because we have all these characters in it. So that was kind of one of the idea for that.
Yeah. The other one, and I wish this happened in Hollywood Studios, so we were supposed to get a version of Muppets. It was going to be the Muppets Great Movie Ride, and it basically was going to make fun of the Great Movie Ride, the entire attraction. That was the concept. They actually built it all out, but because of Jim Henson's passing and trying to actually contractually get the Muppets under contract, that took forever. They never ended up making it, and they made the Great Movie Ride, and that was it. There was no Muppets one. So there was potentially, I thought this was a really clever idea.
Yeah.
Was they were going to have the Muppets thrown throughout the attraction, building the attraction. So there would be lots of construction vehicles and vests and Muppets who were making fun of the previous attraction while they were tearing it down, physically constructing it into what would eventually turn into, what was the official name for Miss Piggy's?
Miss Piggy's Superstar Limo.
So it was going to turn into Miss Piggy's Superstar Limo, which I think would have actually probably done better than even what we get.
I agree. And they would have started with Disney putting an ad in the paper reading, yeah, we know Superstar Limo stinks, but don't worry, we've got the best guys on the job of redoing it. And then it would have had a picture of Bunsen and Beaker in hard hats.
I love
so then
that.
You'd go on the ride and see them like actually like building all of the things. And yeah, and so the idea was that because they have so many locals, you could go on the ride and almost every time you went on it, it would be different because they have
Because they would be like,
section.
yeah, they would have been like taking sections out. So like, imagine this. Imagine riding through an attraction that already exists, but it is getting a retheme, but it is open during the retheme.
Yeah.
Is that wild? And then the fact that you're having IP overlaid on top of it while it's getting rethemed is like, it's a retheme while it's being rethemed. It's so clever and ingenious. It's sad that it never happened.
It would have been a really unique park experience. And you could have been like, I was there when the Muppets were constructing this new Muppets ride. I watched
They
them do it.
They were the ones doing it. Exactly.
I think it would have been amazing. But that obviously never happened. In late 2002, Mike and Sully and Boo Visit Hollywood was floated as an idea. And this was largely trying to play nice with Pixar at this time when Michael Eisner had not done a great job making friends with Steve Jobs, and they were being fairly alienating themselves from Pixar. And it was a bad situation because they really needed to have that relationship with Pixar. So they're like, well, let's retheme this to this Mike and Sully Visit Hollywood idea, which is kind of weird. I mean, but that never actually ended up happening either. And then when Paul Pressler, who was president of Disneyland, and not a great one in my opinion, when he left the picture, was ousted, the new president really he was appalled with the fact that they hadn't made any big plans for the 50th anniversary of Disneyland. It was like huge, massive, important deal, right? So he was like, no, we got to do all this stuff. And they did like a whole bunch of gold ride vehicles. They did a whole bunch of really neat things, but he's like, we got to fix this. And so he wanted to put Rock and Roller Coaster in there, like just kind of bulldoze everything that was in that section and put Rock and Roller Coaster. But the budget just said no. So it really just kind of sat empty from 2002 to when they finally decided to do what they did end up doing, which would be Monsters, Inc., Mike and Sully to the Rescue, which is what we have now.
Which I actually really enjoy. I remember so it's been a very long time since I've been to Disneyland, but Mel and I went there. There was no line ever for that ride. We could go on it whenever.
Oh, it's changed,
and
my friend.
Is it popular now?
The problem is the lightning lane situation is that it's easy to get lightning lanes for it. So everybody who has lightning lanes gets it. And you will sit in that line forever in standby because of the lightning lane situation. Like you will wait. If people just start flowing in front of you, it's just like
that's Peter Pan. That's exactly Peter Pan.
Yeah. Well, Peter Pan here doesn't even have a lightning lane, but yeah, it's a...
Yeah, but you're lucky it doesn't because your actual ride line moves. I stood 3 people away from boarding on Peter Pan where the merge is for lightning lanes after the fireworks. 45 minutes I didn't. 45 minutes. I was like, there's no way it's going to be this long. And then I sat and sat and sat and sat, and they just ran lightning lanes in front of us all. And I'm like, are we invisible?
I know. I feel like they should take at least like every 20 or 40 people or something.
Yeah, like stagger it along.
Yeah,
like
a little bit.
I understand that we're all paying guests, number one. And then there are guests that did pay for a privilege, but there has to be some sort of like
compromise. Yeah.
There was nothing on
awful.
That was just straight. Try to clear the lightning lane.
That is how Monsters, Inc. is now. So just brace yourself.
I have lightning lanes, dude. I'm good.
So this opened in January 23rd of 2006 is when this new ride through opened. And it uses the same track layout and the same ride vehicles, which had been used. They just redecorated everything, essentially. So now they have Monstropolis taxi cabs instead of limos. So they're kind of fun. They have license plates that say Screamer or Peekaboo, and then they have the number on the side says 555 Fang. Like it's all Monstropolis themed. And so, of course, Park Lore did that great map that's kind of like an overlay so you can see between the two as well.
This is annoying. Yeah, I love that. You did the side by side. Here we go. Yeah, it's great. I mean, it's good usage of a track that already exists. Why redo it? Just retheme the whole area. I love Harryhausen's. Harryhausen smells so good. I love that ginger smell.
Yeah, me too. And that is actually like kind of an inside joke as well. Because Harryhausen's is named after the special effects pioneer Ray Harryhausen. And so they did a special effect in there as in homage to
fun.
Ray Harryhausen.
I love that.
Mm-hmm. So, I don't know how much of this ride we want to go through because I know we've already.
I don't want to go through a lot of Monsters Inc., but I do think if you have anything fun, like I want to talk about the reuse of animatronics. I just think that's really funny.
Well, let me
animatronics.
Let me just kind of go through like what changed to what real quick. So,
yep.
Instead of the LAX airport, you climb into just kind of like in Monstropolis, you just kind of called a cab. And so you go into the Monstropolis tunnel, which is the original tunnel where Swifty used to come up and blow you kisses. And then you have Beverly Hills turns into City Streets. The Sunset Strip turns into Harryhausen's. The Agent Blackout area is now like Boo to Go. The Bel Air turns into the CDA Raid. Malibu turns into the Locker Room. Tattoos in the Paparazzi becomes the Scare Floor. The Monster Movie, Barnyard Musical, and Superstar Studios becomes the Door Warehouse, so where all the doors are flying around. The Fans and Premiere Entrance becomes like door screens in the color-changing Randall area. And then Hollywood is Boo's Door and the Good Night. And then there's the Blackout's the same. And then the Melrose Avenue area becomes the Decontamination and the area with Roz, which is really fun. I don't know if you haven't been on this ride, Roz will kind of like make comments about people who are in the cab, which is really fun and interactive and makes it a little bit different every time you go, which is super fun. So do we want to talk about how they repurpose some of the CDA agents, or the original minimatronics to CDA agents?
Yep. So I was just getting my side-by-sides together.
I know you're clicking over there.
Like, what is he doing?
It's like
so much
clicking.
So much click. Yeah, so these minimatronics are basically just getting all of the what's their acronym again? The CDA, Child
Detection, the Child Detection Agency, CDA.
Yeah, so CDA, and you have Jackie Chan, and so Jackie Chan is CDA over here. And then probably the one that's most obvious to everybody is the Drew Carey one. Yeah, the Drew Carey ones.
Yeah, it's just so muddy because it's like the exact same pose.
Yeah, like why would they put stuff in his hands too? The only thing I can think of is it really is trying to pay homage to the older one rather than, because they didn't have to put those tickets in their fans just like, the maps were.
Yeah.
Or they're like Boo wanted.
Like they're like, we have to put something in his hand. The other ones that we have as well is the CDA agent who is being interviewed at the end is actually Whoopi Goldberg. So like there's a CDA agent that's doing like a TV interview. So that one's Whoopi Goldberg. And then Agent 12200 on the left in the CDA raid is Tim Allen. And then, of course, there's Jackie Chan and Drew Carey in that same scene as well. Somebody said that Regis Philbin turned into Randall Boggs, but I don't see it in any of the ones that I've looked at because he's too skinny and like not like he's lizard shaped. Oh, yes.
The only other one that it was suggested, but the arm position is slightly different, is this one from Cindy Crawford into this like spraying disinfectant agent. It kind of looks like it.
Change her arm, yeah, because like the leg position looks like it could be in that way.
Leg position looks good, arm position looks good. And this is still bent, so if they just rotated her shoulder, then it's plausible. But I think it's hysterical that it's like the big head.
It's funny. Yeah. So they just repurposed a lot of it. It's not. I think that they did a good job with it for what they have. It's not like
Monsters are a great ride.
It's fun. It's a fun dark ride. It's great for kids. I think that the queue is a little bit lackluster myself.
Yeah, but the queue was terrible before.
But so here is what the queue looks like for, this is where Joan Rivers used to be, and now it just like plays some scene setting movies to put you in Monstropolis with the CDA. And then they also have, it's still kind of like, they have the Monstropolis Transit Authority. So instead of LAX, they have the MTA is the place that you're going into for the queue. They also have that with tickets and information for the MTA. They have kind of little windows for that as well. And then they turned, I don't think I have a picture of it, but they do, instead of all the movie posters, they have some posters that make sense for Monstropolis. And then they put in they have giant vending machines that have like things that the monsters would like in them, like stink spray and whatnot, which is really fun.
Who talks to you instead of Swifty La Rue throughout the experience?
The chauffeur.
That's what his name is, the chauffeur?
It's just chauffeur. But who was it? It was Corey Burton, I think, that voiced the chauffeur.
Okay.
I did have that somewhere. Yeah, this just says chauffeur, just like disembodied chauffeur, because there's clearly no chauffeur in the front of your car. It's just you driving through. Yeah, so I think that about covers it. That's all I got. Yeah,
I like this episode. It was fun because it's like a goofy ride that clearly was a failure, but it's got an interesting story, and I love talking about the re-theme and like uncovering stuff about the Muppets. I just thought it was really cool.
This was such a fun episode to kind of go over one of the not a great success story, but at least it's been fixed.
Yeah, it's entertaining.
Yes. It's grotesque. Thank you, everybody, for joining us for this episode of Distory. We loved going over this attraction with you guys for Superstar Limo and visiting one of Disney's maybe not so successful endeavors. But it's been really fun to laugh along with you guys in this episode. And Kirk, do you have any final thoughts?
Don't make limo rides anymore.
We're done. We're maxed out.
We got no room.
And no more grotesque B-list celebrities. Please and thank you.
Yeah. And let's make audio animatronics, not
Minimatronics. Yes. Agreed. All right. Well, thank you, everybody, for being with us for this episode. We really loved going on this ride with you, and we'll look forward to seeing you next time.